action. But first, Viewpoint 88.
These scenes were filmed just 6 feet away from the radioactive core of a nuclear reactor. There are 18 nuclear power stations in Britain. Oldbury on the River Severn is one of them. This year, Oldbury is 21 years old, and we were given unique access, unprecedented in Britain's nuclear history, to look behind the mystique of an industry that usually only hits the headlines when things go wrong.
We've searched the remaining buildings at the top of the pond filtration plant, and there is no sign of the missing person. It therefore seems likely that he's in the fan room that at the present moment we can't gain access to. The room is very hot and full of smoke, although the radiation levels are not significant. Over.
Those of us that have been involved with incidents know that within an hour you've got the press howling at the door. And it is up to the emergency controller to deal with these until the OSC sets itself up.
We need to know really how to handle the press. How do we handle them in any situation, whether it be nuclear or otherwise,
Can I make
without making fools of ourselves?
We've had a situation here with a very small potential fire, believed to be a fire on one of the turbines, where we were receiving calls from the local press not many minutes after we'd actually contacted the fire brigade. And in fact, there was a TV reporter, film crew in the car park within 30, 40 minutes of our call to the fire brigade.
And the other aspect of it, I mean, the business of human relations. If, for example, there was somebody killed on site and there was a relative who phoned in to ask for information, I don't really know how to deal with that. I mean, I'm not... You know, there might be ways in which we ought to know how to deal with such a thing.
You realise you're going to get hoax calls, you're going to get reporters pretending to be this, that and the other, and so on. Yeah. And quite frankly, I don't think in the case, for instance, of names of injured people or casualties, that you would be...
I would not release that except to the OSC.
Well, no, I mean, that's right, and you certainly wouldn't do it over the telephone.
What I'm suggesting is that if you've got people who's are on shift, and their wives are going to phone you, is my husband safe? And you've either got to say yes or no.
This is why you keep it...
Don't know is worse than...
Yeah.
Don't know. Yeah, if you say don't know, then you are in a mess.
We've already... Stimulate an ambulance to come to this area and collect him from the medical decontam bay. We will transport him to that region now. Over. What are you doing? Whoa! Whoa! Oh, shit! You're going to carry all the tracks. Come on, mate, give me back. Did you bring a VA, sir?
Oldbury generates electricity using 2 Magnox nuclear reactors. In each, 27,000 uranium fuel rods are stacked in columns of 8, in 3,000 separate channels, inside a graphite block. This forms a critical mass that can sustain a chain reaction, and it's this reaction that produces the heat that's used to generate electricity. To control this process, rods that absorb neutrons are moved out to increase the rate of nuclear fission, in to slow it down. Every year, one of the reactors at Oldbury is shut down for maintenance. Nuclear power stations are major investments, and shutting down this reactor costs the Central Electricity Generating Board, the CEGB, £250,000 a week in lost electricity. So they want to have it back online as quickly as possible.
Carry on, over.
All through the maintenance period, a team of men work on the boilers close to the reactor core, checking the condition of the pipes, welding, and fishing out loose pieces of highly contaminated debris.
Is that it? Yeah. Anything on it, Paul?
Working on the boilers means exposure to the highest radioactive dose by far of any job carried out at Oldbury. To limit their annual dose of radiation, the team is changed halfway through.
Got it, Terry?
Even during shutdown, certain areas of the reactor are out of bounds. No human being could survive inside the core itself.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So a range of sophisticated remote technologies have been developed. Cameras, manipulators, even remote welding machines. This year's inspection confirms that corrosion inside the reactor has pushed steel plates away from the reactor wall. This has caused a bolt to snap off. It's come to rest deep down on top of a fuel element. The bolt's been discovered by operators trying to remove spent fuel from the reactor. Now they have the tricky problem of getting it out.
You just pinch up a little bit again, please, Cliff. And again. Back down, please. Same again on this one, little bits at a time. Well, we're trying to recover a split tube nut and bolt, which is down the fuel channel, down the side of a fuel element. And in order to do that, we've got to pull the fuel element up into the fueling machine, one at a time, all 8 fuel elements, so as we can go down with a camera down to the bottom of the channel to recover this bolt and nut which we know is down in this channel.
Why did it get there?
Because it broke off the boiler shield wall due to corrosion on the boiler shield wall.
This is part of the oxidization problem.
That's it, yes.
Why can't you just leave it?
Because it restricts the gas flow up to the side of the fuel element and could cause the fuel element to seriously overheat, because you would have no gas to take the heat away from the fuel can.
So you've got to get it?
Yeah, we've got to get it out before we can start back up again. And again.
3 hours later, the last of the 8 fuel elements is out. Now a video camera is used to search for the unwelcome intruder.
Alan, take your finger off, please. That's the offending fuel channel. But the television picture will go all hazy in it as we go through the core with the irradiation. Those little bits of graphite flake, that is, this graphite has been... That's the rub marks up the fuel channel, up the graphite where the elements have been coming out. See them? We've got a long way to go now, right down through the core.
That's the offending beast. Now that net is 12 inches down from that shiny face there. That's down, way down the side.
It's not going to be easy to get out.
Well, free a little bit. I think we'll get it out. We've got to get it out.
Not really a starting matter, but on the replacement control rods.
Tom Gerard, from the Nuclear Installations Inspectorate, watchdog of the nuclear industry.
I'm looking to see the reactor boxed up now. If we can resolve the one remaining problem, which is the item of debris that's in the fuel channel, which in fact looks like that.
Oh, it should.
Yes.
The station must satisfy the inspector point by point before they can restart the reactor.
And they're waiting with bated breath to hear the news of the recovery of this this one from the channel.
Yes. How you do it, presumably, well, I don't know what sort of gear you actually got to get hold of it.
I've got 20 micros here at the moment.
Just going to have a quick look, right? Up slow there, Al. Keep your eye on the television screen. Right. Stop for there. Can you come and give me a hand for the boarding? Back. No, okay.
20 millisieverts contact.
20 millisieverts, okay.
The boat has been lying in the core for some time and is dangerously radioactive. It will become part of the medium-level nuclear waste from the plant, which has to be stored away from human contact for at least 50 years. Three months after shutdown, the station is ready to restart the reactor. But first, the Nuclear Inspectorate must examine everything that might affect safety over the next 2 years before they can give their signed consent.
We're here to discuss the start-up of Reactor 2.
The Inspectorate are concerned about safety devices called actuators. These are motors used to operate the control rods. In an emergency, the rods drop in to shut the reactor down. At Oldbury some time ago, a rod failed to drop. A tiny grub screw had fallen out, fouling the mechanism. The event took on a new significance when a screw went missing at a similar station. In the worst imaginable scenario, if 30 rods failed, it would be impossible to keep the reactor shut down.
You have stated in your briefing notes you do regard it as a unique event. That may be so. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but I would like to see some evidence, if it's reasonably practical to do so, where you could carry out a backup check. And the freedom of movement check seems to me to be that sort of thing. It wouldn't entail shutting your reactor down or losing any significant output.
Well, that's currently done before. It's been done, must have been done 6 or 10 times since this event on the other reactor.
In addition to that, of course, we do carry out actuator maintenance. So some of those actuators are coming out for maintenance purposes. And of course, it will be our intention to check those in the same way which we've done on the other reactor.
Until you've checked a significant proportion of all these, the maintenance check where you take it out of the reactor, which is the ultimate check, until you've done, say, at least half or more of these, that you do a more frequent freedom of movement check.
We've already doubled the frequency from a month to fortnightly.
Not for this particular event.
But I was saying fortnightly is pretty regular, anyhow.
let's not lose sight of the fact that we have examined 1/3 of our stock of actuators, and there's nothing to distinguish reactor 1 actuators from reactor 2. We've done 1/3 of our total stock and found this to be a unique event. And I would have thought we could take a lot of comfort from that.
I think we can take a lot of comfort from that, and indeed it's your main argument for continuing operation on the other reactor. What I'm asking for is an additional check, at least for a period of time until you've had an opportunity to examine a larger proportion.
I think we're offering the current freedom of movement check at fortnightly.
Yes. I mean, if asked the question, what frequency would you suggest?
I don't think that I want to come along and pick out figures out off the top of my head. I'm simply asking the question to see if it's reasonably practicable. And from what you're saying, it does seem to be reasonably practical. Therefore, I'd like you to give some thought to doing that sort of thing, because it would certainly enhance the case as it stands at the moment.
If station are willing to reconsider the matter, we can respond to you with a view on how we might meet your request of us to look at, as you put it, at the reasonable practicability of increasing the frequency or undertaking some other form of reassurance. Would you be content to do that? Yes. I think. Yeah.
And if you could respond within the 28-day reporting period, it gives us a deadline to work.
Yes, indeed.
That was a bad one, this one, really. I mean, they do drag it out a bit. Oh, we dragged it out, yeah. I think one of the reasons was because the camera was there. We had to drag it out a bit.
It's still here. Do you think we made a big impact on it?
It doesn't bother me.
No, but do you think the meeting then was distorted by our being...
Not a lot. I think people said things a little more clearly to make sure that they wouldn't be misconstrued, particularly the NII.
Yeah, the NII.
I think our lads have got used to it, you see.
These men have just completed their work in some of the most difficult and potentially dangerous conditions at the plant. Now the boilers can be sealed again in readiness for start-up.
Just to let you know, the boiler entry is over for the day, and you've got all 4 boilers sealed up now. That's all the 4. All back to normal. The game's in your hand now. Yippee!
It's a cover plate. Yeah, that's loose. That's the consent to start up, Peter.
Okay, Pete. Thanks very much.
On the 15th of February, Oldbury Nuclear Power Station is given the all clear by the Nuclear Inspectorate.
So I'll shut it now then, and I'll wait to hear from you.
How about RSVs? Just the one each.
These operators are setting in train a process that will take the nuclear reactor on stream.
Stand by filling line, make a start.
Carbon dioxide is pumped into the pressure vessel as a heat carrier. But as the pressure increases, a problem becomes apparent.
Boiler closure on 8, it's leaking very badly. There is an indication on 5 of a smallish leak.
There's indications on all of them, but 6 and 7 are very little. At 5, you'll get 4% quite easily anywhere on the joint.
On 5?
On 5. Yeah. And on 8, we can get 3% in the access truck on the way down. The monitor went down first, and he immediately got indication as he entered the slot at the top, got 3%. So, well, you shouldn't really go in at all, should you, on 3%, let alone go in and start hanging about.
And if we can make sure it's all clear of CO2 or as much as we can. Because if we can't clear it, of course, we've got to depressurise. And, you know, that takes us back a lot.
If we stop the leaks, are you happy for us to put the strong backs on and go ahead?
But without having to look again, without me being here again?
You can go down again. There's no problem about... There may be no problem in you going down, because but it will mean that we'll be able to progress the reactor startup.
Yeah, as long as I can still get access.
There appears to be leakage pretty well all the way round, but again, it's only a maximum of about 0.7% CO2, about an inch from the joint. So, I mean, going on last year, when we had a similar problem, as I said before, on boiler 4, I don't think there's any need to do anything about it.
You've not done any more tightening?
We have. We've gone up to the maximum torque values allowable on both
5 and 8.
5 and 8. Right. So we can't do any more, with respect to tightening in the present situation.
Bill Gill, for 16 years, shift manager at Oldbury, is satisfied that the leak has been reduced to an acceptable level. Start-up can proceed. Oldbury on 7 is about to go critical.
Well, baby, I'm thinking about your chocolate. Well, baby, I'm thinking about your taste. Well, baby, I'm thinking about your chocolate. Thinking about your taste. Well, maybe I'm thinking about your chocolate, thinking about your taste.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 bellies playing, 11 keyboards tapping, 10 bobs of bubbling, 9 pluckers blacking, 8 plates a spinning, 7 shavers shading, 6 dryers drying.
At Boots this Christmas, we've got more presents than ever before.
5 lovely toys, 4 biscuit packs, 3 perfumes, 2 TV games, and a classical collection CD.
Boots have got Christmas shopping all wrapped up.
Kouros, the fragrance for men by Yves Saint Laurent.
6 p.m. at Oldbury Power Station, and reactor number 2 is coming back to life. Little by little, the control rods are withdrawn and neutron activity increases. For the men in the control room, there's much tension as they nurse the reactor up to criticality.
We're already within the 80. There or just a fraction of an hour. It's already far out. These things there. It's about 250 watts though, Dick.
Well, I think we can just see what about there.
It goes up to 1.5 on its own. I'll confirm that. 1.5. I'd say that's about it.
Yeah, we just let it double at that. One more. So you can look at the chart, you can see now the reactor power is slowly increasing.
and he's not touching the control rods. Yeah. We've got about 5 kilowatts, which if we had that steam to produce electricity, it'd just be about enough for a 1 bar electric fire.
Give me the megawatts. Let me know it's 5.
Just after midnight on Friday, after a week of tests, the reactor is connected to the electricity supply grid. The turbine is up to speed, and reactor number 2 is about to start paying its way again.
Set's gone on load now. It'll be on load for 2 years, barring any problems. And we shortly be picking up load the next 2 hours. And we should have enough electricity to supply the whole of Gloucestershire.
From this one reactor?
From this one reacting turbine, yes.
Oh, come on and join us. Rather strange meeting, this. You're probably hearing rumours about strange things happening to me. Have you heard any? Yeah. Well, they're all true.
Seriously.
I made sort of noises to people like Alan Cowell and personnel about my future, and they've listened to them, and this has been put up to top shop as far as the deputy chairman. And as from the 1st of April, I'm going to become a generation manager. Now, this means, of course, that this station, if we're not careful, will be without a manager. They don't want that, and in fact, there will be interviews for the manager of Oldbury held next Thursday. The shortlist has already been picked, led by our production manager, Ron. Dennis Johnston's the other one, and John Holland from Hinckley. So they form the shortlist. So, any questions? Right, thanks for coming.
You're the new chap, are you? Now, what's your job?
Right, the fuel elements. These are what they look like. They're just over 1 metre long, so a solid bar of natural uranium through the centre and a Magnox can round the outside, giving this power station its name type. As I said, there are 26,000 approximately of these in each of the reactors. And on average, they last about 5 or 6 years. But at the end of that time, we have to take them out of the reactor and replace them with new ones.
This is nuclear fuel. These fuel elements will soon be playing a key role in the heart of the reactor. At Oldbury, they get through 200 of these fuel elements every week. But if it were a coal-fired station, to generate the same amount of power, you'd need 32,000 tonnes of coal, pumping 100,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
Should be number 1 coming around the 122-666.
This is the last time these fuel elements can ever be directly handled by humans. Once inside the core, the highly radioactive contaminants that build up will be amongst the most toxic substances known to man.
672.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ross.
How did it go Thursday?
Oh, it's a splendid interview. Couldn't have had
Yes,
better.
yes.
In fact, old Weeks was most complimentary. In fact, I believe he gave the... he was almost telling me when I went in that I
Yes.
hadn't got it, you know.
Yes.
Complimentary. But there we are.
Yeah. Okay. See you later.
Never mind, Ron.
Oh, well, I suppose I'd better start work.
This collar joins the fueling machine to the reactor. It gets contaminated with radioactive dirt and has to be cleaned.
That's just over 1,000 counts per second swab. Loose contamination.
Is that higher than that contamination?
Is what, sorry?
Is the contamination high?
It's too high to go back down in again, yeah.
White paper covering the proposal for the privatisation of the electricity supply industry and an accompanying letter by the Lord Marshal of Goring is available for all staff to take from the canteen entrance when convenient.
So you've gone from 2,000, well, 1 to 2,000 counts per second swab, down to 10 or 15 now.
A lot better, isn't it?
Which is okay.
Yeah. The refueling machine moves onto the top of the reactor, carrying 40 new fuel elements to replace spent elements in the reactor core. Operated remotely from this console, the machine is used to replace fuel elements that may have been in the reactor for as long as 12 years. Once removed, the spent fuel, fiercely radioactive, is discharged into this tank full of water 26 feet deep, the pond. The water here acts as a barrier against radiation and as a coolant. The spent fuel must stay in the pond for at least 90 days to allow the short-lived fission products to decay to safer levels. Long-lived products like plutonium remain dangerous for millions of years. Now that the nuclear industry is moving towards privatization, the problems of waste and safety are major issues.
If they wanted higher grade plutonium and sell it for some reason or other, then obviously they take this out of this pond quicker.
Yeah, but we don't do that, boss. We are interested in burning the fuel up.
Yes, but that's up to them, not you. Yes. I mean, that's the thing. Obviously, that today they can mix the sort of lower grade reactor fuel with the higher stuff and make weapons grade. But that is newer business. After it leaves you, what happens to it none of your business at all. It's our business collectively, but
it's not the CGB's business.
Not the CGB, but it's our business collectively. Right.
We better go now.
Right.
Visiting officials from the Gwent County Council are given VIP treatment as they tour the plant. Not all of them are fans of the nuclear industry.
There's no need for stations like this to make themselves inefficient, to make plutonium. It's just not needed.
Today?
Today. And
that isn't to say it hasn't done in the past, and it won't be done in the future.
Right. It may not, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for us. If we ended up in a war with Russia, everything would be pushed in. All the Americans, all the French,
well, it doesn't matter
would be pushed. Doesn't matter who it
doesn't
is.
matter. The Iranians or whoever.
Yeah, and if we needed it, it would be used. I wouldn't doubt for 1 minute. But we're not at war, and we're in a stable situation, and we have been for the past 40 years. And the country's got plutonium, and most of the world coming out of the ruddy years. That's why the Russians have got so many warheads. That's why the Americans have got so many warheads. And we obviously have enough to do what we need to do.
A flask of intermediate level waste is on its way to the power station vaults, where it'll be stored for many years behind a concrete shield.
Well, it's 30s, 20s, 60s, highest is 60.
Microsieverts?
Yeah, I suppose so.
And what does that mean?
I don't know. It means we're all right.
What would you think would be high?
Don't know. I just rely on the monitor for all that. I don't mess about it. We've had them coming out with a couple hour on sometimes, but they go back in. There's a monitor that controls the crane. The crane won't lift if it's too high.
Station manager's office? Yes, let Mr. Joynson in when he comes in this morning, will you? He's our new station manager. Oh, right. OK, then. Thanks a lot. Bye, then.
Hello, Dennis. Congratulations.
Sorry about that. Would have been a nice way to have finished your working life, but there we are. Take your chances when they come, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. No hard feelings?
No, none at all.
Good. Great.
Have a nice lunch.
Hello, Dennis. I'm nice to see you back again. Many congratulations.
Right. Nice to be back, first of all. Say.
It's nice to have you back.
He says something about stabbing me in the back.
No, we're so confused now. We're starting ourselves in the front.
I just wanted to say a little bit about the style. I mean, we all know what the immediate thing of the next few days is going to be, getting a good presentation to the chairman. I think that is important. We've got to get him off our backs. I mean, I've said to one or two of you privately, I see that as money in the bank, really. If we don't do well at that, I think there's going to be that much pressure on us, people wanting to come repeatedly to see how we're getting on, that it really is worth making a big push at the beginning, demonstrating we're up to the job, we know what we're about, and hopefully they'll just let us get on with it then. This is a station that has a high level of pride, but I think in recent times we've felt a bit beleaguered, and we've let that show. We from the centre, appear to have become a location that carps a lot. We've got an investment and a commitment from our board members to institute change if we feel change is necessary. We are the lead station for all of the nuclear industry, so what better tribute can there be to Oldbury? I've not come across a team stronger than this one anywhere. So I think we've got the wherewithal to sort it out, and what we've got to really do is, whenever we talk about corporate systems or instituting change of that kind, it's no, we've got too many other things to do. It's a flavour, it's an impression, but believe me, it's shared by others. It's not mine. I'm giving you the benefit of what other people have said to me.
We're not arguing what you're saying, but I think you've got to look at these things in the context of overall. And I think you've actually put your foot on it when you said, well, you know, you're doing the CPIS and you can't manage that, and you're doing the OSART and you can't manage that. We've got a hell of a lot on the plate at the moment. I'm not saying we can't do them, but you can't do them all well. You've got to choose your priorities and your targets and attend to them in that order.
Well, okay.
And that is maybe
That's redefining our responsibilities so that the most important things do receive the majority of our time and our attention, and the more trivial things are pushed down the line. I mean, that takes us back to resources. We never seem to have enough resources, but we all know that we only get half of the working day out of our craftsmen. Bringing about the change is the number one priority, and that will be number two. We've got to do something about that. And that's the next challenge for next year, if you like, rather than the one for this year.
Before it's moved to the vaults, the flask is cleaned to remove radioactive dirt. But how radioactive?
There's some surface stuff that's fixed that doesn't come off. But that's about all. All the dust and dirt has been wiped off coming up through the sprays.
How do you know what is safe?
I'm relying on this thing. I'm relying on the figures that the monitor gave me when he did the checks before it came out of the pond. And then I'm relying on this thing. I mean, if I'm in a beam of 100 milliar, this will start going like a little canary. And so will I.
But do you know that 60 millisievert is safe? How do you know that? Who told you?
Anyhow, we only go by what how physics tell us. Of course, their figures are subject to change. when we used to argue about that we wouldn't handle flasks with 1.5 hour coming off them, we were told, oh, that's perfectly safe as long as we keep our distance. It's only on contact. Now, if there's 300 or 400 milliar coming off them, they tell us to keep our distance.
So they've changed their ideas over the...
They've changed their ideas. They've changed them down quite considerably since we've had the new desplittering machine, because we can do that. With the old desplittering machine, if we'd stuck to these figures, we'd never have shifted anything. Yes, I'm telling them the truth in here.
So do you think to some extent they change the parameters as they need to?
They change them as the job suits. There's no doubt about that. The parameters we work to are safe according to the official figures. You know, the ministry figures. We like to keep them below that if possible, obviously. I mean, it's my neck as well as everybody else's. I don't want to die of cancer. But they will juggle their figures here, what we can work to keep the job moving. There's no denying that. You know, rather than stop the job completely and bring it into a standstill, they'll say up perimeter. You know, you can take a little bit extra radiation for 10 minutes longer to get the job done. And still be in the safe limits, they tell us. My overall dose in 18 years of being here is very, very low.
Samples are taken of radioactive water, which is discharged into the River Severn 4 times a week.
Just finished the ASOM. Just check the figures, please.
Yeah, that's the discharge sheet for B tank from 1825 hours onwards. Okay.
This discharge measured just over 11 gigabecquerels. That is 11,000 million disintegrations per second. Big numbers, but what do they all mean?
If you looked at the samples now from the surrounding area and looked at them before Oldbury was built, you wouldn't know there was a nuclear power station here.
Although Oldbury's discharges are low, this water does contain radioactive traces, some from as far away as Sellafield, where Oldbury's spent fuel is reprocessed.
Brian, where are we going?
Going to Harwell, NRPB at Harwell.
Because?
I'm going for a whole body scan to see if they can detect any radioactive material inside my body at all. An incident occurred in about 1976, I can't be sure of the exact date, when the Pond's cooler circuit, which was a bit of an outdated and old-fashioned system, was clogging up and it needed to be cleared. So there was methods of cleaning it with circulating water and the injection of carbon dioxide gas. But unfortunately, during this purging and cleaning, someone accidentally, must be accidentally, increased the pressure by opening up the valve on the CO2 bottle. And the whole system pressurized. And some of the water, some of the active pond water and some of the deposits, the magnesium deposits, which are now floating freely, found themselves up in one of the domestic water tanks. Well, that in itself was bad enough, but this domestic water tank fed the mess room where the health physics guys used to have their cups of tea and things. Come on. And one particular morning, which is engraved indelibly on my mind, the tea tasted particularly foul, but of course everyone drank it. Once you've paid for it, if they got creosote in it, you would drink it. So everyone drank the tea, or most of it. And after we drunk it, we found out that the water that had been used to make our tea that morning was, in actual fact, had radioactive material in it. How radioactive it was, I don't know. Well, I still don't know now, but there's obviously some documents somewhere which will indicate specific activity. I don't think anyone on that particular morning drank more than one mugful of this particular liquid. I certainly didn't drink any more than that.
Do you think anybody suffered from that accident?
Couldn't say. We mean suffered, anyone died of cancer?
Yeah.
Wouldn't like to say. We've had a couple of guys who've contracted cancer, but die of cancer anyway. And that doesn't count for the people who contract cancer. We've just got to assume that anything we consumed on that particular day didn't do us any good. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It didn't do us any good. But whether it did us any harm is the question which really we can't answer. We do it absolutely right now. There's no question of that. That event then just wouldn't happen. And even by some freak accident, a thing like that happened, then all the remedial action afterwards would have been taken and would be taken now. No question of that.
Okay, so all you have to do is lie there and relax.
Okay.
Do you want the radio on at all?
Please, yes, okay. Right, let's hope we get a nil result. I don't want anything other than what the Russians have given me.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Did I really ask for that?
Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine, thank you.
Sometime during the mid-1970s, when this mess room was used by shift personnel, an incident occurred whereby pond water was accidentally pumped into the large storage tank supplying this tap. And I believe that on several occasions, water from that tap was used to make tea after it was contaminated with pond water.
The active contaminant in the pond water was cesium-137. Half of it passes through the body every 110 days. A negative result, therefore, won't guarantee none was ingested 12 years ago.
Radio man is slightly out of tune. Come in, thank you. Which way, this one?
Yeah, straight.
What did they say, Brian?
Everything's okay. Nothing to worry about at all. Very relieved, yeah.
And,
okay, thank you.
Well, good morning. I'm very pleased to be here. I've had a walk around the station. It looked like a very nice station, so I'm sure you're all happy to be working here. And I want to tell you about some decisions which I have made, that we must make a fresh drive and have a fresh determination to tighten up and improve the operation of our nuclear power stations.
Can I ask you what your main concerns are about privatisation?
We made recommendations about how that privatisation should be done, and the government has not accepted our advice. They have a perfect right to do that, but we do not like the way in which they have decided to privatise the industry. There's nothing in the government proposals that are bad for the staff. There's nothing in the government proposals that are bad for the management. I have concern about the security of the supplies and the cost of supplies, which means that I am worrying about the effect upon the consumer. And we'll have to see who's right and who's wrong. I am willing to rest my reputation on the advice that I have given. And it isn't just my advice, it's the advice of the entire board of the CGB, and we are absolutely unanimous. So, after privatisation, we will discover who's right, the government or the board of the CGB.
Once a week, 200 spent fuel elements leave Oldbury on 7 for Sellafield, 300 miles away. There it will be reprocessed. Some 99% is uranium, which can be reused. Less than 1% is usable plutonium. But the remainder is highly radioactive waste, which will have to be stored away from all living things for centuries.
Next week at 10:35, First Tuesday looks at the deaths caused by asbestos.